Hello and welcome to FinTech Focus TV. My name's Ian Bailey and we're joined today by Peter Theunis from BPC. Peter, thank you so much for joining us.
Ian, thank you for the invitation.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure. Listen, always a good place to start. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about BPC.
So my name is Peter Theunis. I am plus 25 years in payments and banking. So you can already call me an industry veteran in the meantime. Although I think differently of myself, but that's another thing. I started a long time ago my career. My first job was in a bank in the payments department in IT. And I never left it. But my career, after my experience in the bank, the rest of my career was mainly within the vendor side of financial services, so mainly software providers or consultancy providers to banks and fintechs and everybody around it. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm with BPC since now 2016. At this moment, managing director for Europe. BPC is also, let's say, already quite an old fintech, started plus 25 years ago. Started off with building a software platform called SmartVista. That software platform was initially meant for acquiring banks and issuing banks to, let's say, support all acquiring and issuing activities from front end, back office, clearing and settlement, authorization, let's say the whole end-to-end cycle. That is where we're coming from. After that, of course, we enlarged our product or solution portfolio. We went into fraud management. Today, we have one of the leading fraud solutions in the market. We went to digital banking. We went to digital ecosystems where we have more B2B marketplaces. We do closed loop and open loop payment schemes. We run about 25 domestic schemes globally, mainly in emerging markets. So today it's a broad set of tools. It is, let's say, an end-to-end payments platform, if you can. Company is still privately owned. We work today, we have about 450 customers in 120 countries, so makes us truly global. And in that perspective, the company's aim is to grow further the current activities. We grew this much without any acquisitions, so it's all homegrown activities. So and that makes us, let's say, positively EBITDA positive since many years.
Very good. Yeah, you're obviously doing something right to have some growth like that. And look, 25 years in the industry, that's quite some going. You'll have seen plenty, no doubt. I'm keen to investigate a little more on what you said there. You said you started out on more of that kind of traditional software vendor, and have now moved, as you say, that full kind of software as a service, payments processing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that transition, what that was like?
So over time, let's say when we started, it was the start when chip cards, EMV and so on, chip and PIN came up. So then it was really technologically advanced software. Over the years, of course, it became natural to be in that area. So there was less and less innovation to it. We still have with digital cards, Apple Pay, Google Pay, and so on, but it becomes more and more commodity. So when you get into commodity, you need to reinvent yourself as a company to stay on top of every hype cycle that is there. So that's why we heavily invest on digital banking. We are now doing in all regions in the world digital banking products or solutions. That means banks and fintechs who are using this layer for their own digitalization. For sure, in traditional banks, it's still a way to go, because we're not talking only about an app, because most people think about digital banking, it's an app. No, it is the digital way of transferring information between different parties. It's how you engage with your customers and so on. So we have a full platform for that. At the same moment, we also saw a big trend more from government initiatives, where governments want to become more green, want to have less paper and so on. One of the first areas where you saw that is public transport. So we developed our own automated fare collection PSP, where we can run automated fare collection in buses and trains and trams and so on. Even that, we extended them also to toll, to parkings. Today we really have our own solution where we can even see how traffic, which is the best parking to go and things like that. So that extended it. And over the last years, you had also, due to COVID and refugees and so on, government disbursements, which were in the beginning paid out during cash, but now the governments want to have more control on what this money is spent on, and so they issue digital cards. And okay, it's our core technology from the beginning, but we apply it in different ways, and that makes us again that we are again in the forefront of technology in many fields. So yeah, that's how we try to look into the market where the next wave will come from. And it is mainly what Visa and MasterCard and the other schemes doing is you search for the new volume and the deviation from the normal volume.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, but talking about volume there, you know, when you're saying about public transport and parking, huge amounts of data that you're able to collect, and I guess start you know, modeling and doing some clever things with there. Yeah, fascinating. And I think, and we were saying just off camera, you know, you and I were actually due to speak back at the Pay 360 event a month or so ago, but you know, diaries were just ram-packed for both of us, which you know, I think says a lot about this as an industry. You know, within that payments and acquisition and you know, all of this sort of stuff, there are a lot of players out here, right? There's an awful lot of people doing some, you know, some very cool and very innovative things. And I think, you know, the fact that, you know, you personally have been in this industry for, you know, 25 years, but the fact that, you know, BPC have been doing this as well for, as you say, for 25 years, and without, you know, you must be doing something right in this. Like, what are you doing to stand out? What are the USPs?
Yeah, but the first thing what we did over the last years was transforming also from a typical licensed software vendor to a SaaS or processing. So today we are a full, what they call in the MasterCard and Visa, what a TPP, third-party processor, having their own endpoints. And we process today billions of transactions on behalf of our customers. So that's first thing. We saw that traditionally selling a software license, installing it in the data center of our customers, that's fading away. I mean, yes, tier one banks still are interested, but most of other players looking at the scale of economies by using cloud infrastructure. That's the first thing. The second thing is, due to the fact that we have this diversity of customers, we are very strong in Latin America. Latin America is a booming market. We are very strong in Southeast Asia. To give you an example, we have more than 15 customers in Vietnam, more than 20 customers in Cambodia, Philippines, and so on. So we see there innovations coming that we try to apply in other regions, like in Africa or in Europe, even in Europe in that perspective. So we are not, people often say, yeah, but you know, we have the newest development methodologies. I always say, if you have 450 customers worldwide, you have to have a proven technology, an iron technology who can deliver performance. It's very easy as a startup to say we're always on the last whatever Java stack or whatever
Yeah.
it is. Once you're getting into customers, it becomes serious because you cannot experiment like that. But innovation for us is also how we link up our technology with new business cases. And due to the fact that we have this global landscape as a company, we can leverage on knowledge that we have in certain markets and bring that to other markets. And that's often very much liked by our customers. In that perspective, I was last month, we had a SaaS event in Mexico where we brought most of our SaaS and processing customers together, where we had speakers from Europe, speakers from APAC, speaking with people from Latin America. And you see this interesting mix that our customers keep even contact after such events to talk with each other, to see how they do things, because they're not competitors. They're living thousands and thousands of kilometers from each other. So that's one of the things I think is for us one of the USPs, and also that we have teams everywhere on the ground. We have implementation and supporting teams in every region in the world. So we as a company not so much organized in big, let's say, offices, but everywhere we have satellite offices of the right people. So it's not only sales offices, but also in most offices we have capabilities to support our customers.
Yeah, and look, so important. A few things that you're handling billions of transactions, that there is no, that can't go wrong. That is the level of support and infrastructure and that needs to be there has to work and has to be right every time. And as you say, 25 years in the game and growing in those sorts of markets, that has to be on point. So yeah, that's very good, very good. And look, you spoke then a few times. Look, certainly, multiple different geographies, and you see innovations coming through all the time, and then you're sort of positioning yourself within that. Given your experience in this market and your position in what you do, what's next? What's coming up in this world?
What's next? That's a very good question. First of all, I always say, I hope that I know it, but then I would start an own company and start building that. That's one of the crystal ball, and then seeing it, and then you're the next unicorn in the world. But to be serious, what we see is that the traditional business of banks will grow. I mean, I even yesterday read an article that by, 2033, the revenue of credit cards globally will double. So we're not yet at the end of that. That's for sure. People sometimes say open banking will disappear cards. I think for the remainder of my career, I'm safe with cards in this card. It will not go. It will even become more complex to maintain the growing volumes. So one of the things is parties that can support growth in volume. It's maybe not innovation, but I see it as big innovation because you need to support it. It costs money to support bigger volumes. That's first. Secondly, I think digital ecosystems in all areas of society becoming more and more important. To give you an example, we're doing a very nice project in India where we, for example, have a farmers marketplace where we bring the farmers together with suppliers, with the people who buy the goods and services from them, the big sales organizations. But we also brought a bank in who will do lending products. You bring in government to make sure that the employees they have are well paid and so on. So you see this closed loop ecosystems to start with. Later it will evolve in open loop, but first as a closed loop is something that we see coming up in a lot of areas. Even today in Europe, because in the beginning we thought it's an emerging markets thing, but we see more and more things popping up in that area. A totally other thing in government, for example, is what will be the role of the post offices in the future as we have no paper letters? Will they become a digital marketplace for the government? And if you talk about the digital marketplace, at the end or at the beginning, everything is a payment. And
Yeah.
that's where we are trying to play. We provide, as a company, we want to be that rails of payment between all these business applications. That's where we see is the future is heading.
Yeah, yeah, it's a fascinating one. You say, look, obviously, it'd be great to have a crystal ball and to be able to see, but I think you're absolutely right that volumes are only ever going to increase, and you know the things, and as is complexity in this digital world, and I think and always a hot topic in these sorts of conversations is around the regulation and the regulators and what's coming up next, and and is regulation the enemy of innovation and so on, or actually without it? Is there any thoughts or any comments on that sort of the regulation and the way that's playing a part in the growth of this space?
Yeah. Regulation can be seen as negative, and often it's a burden. I mean, for providers as us, it's a burden. It's a cost aspect. It's not a revenue aspect. It's often a cost aspect.
Yeah.
But at the other hand, it also makes sure that there is kind of consumer protection that makes that people trust digital payments.
Right.
And if the trust would not be there, if that would not be aligned, and a lot of issues would happen, then people would not trust it. So then the business would also not be there. So it is not only a burden, but it's also a guarantee for the average for the citizens that it works. I mean, we are sitting in this area. We know how the technology works, how everything is together. But let's say 99% of the people out there, they see a card, they see an app, they see this, and they need to trust it at the end of the day.
Right.
The trust is, and that's when you have kind of compliancy and everything there, and regulation makes sure that this happens. And I always go back to one of the biggest example. I mean, often people say, yeah, we want something else than the traditional payment schemes. But the payment schemes with the dispute management and processes, they're having the biggest consumer protection in the world. As a consumer, you can dispute your transaction and claim your money back. And I think that's a huge thing in building volumes.
Yeah, as you say, look, it's all very well having the latest and greatest technologies and this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, it's people's money that is being moved around, and they have to, without trust and without the safety that works, then none of it works, and it's just technology for technology's sake and innovation. Peter, look, fascinating conversation, and I think you could take, as you say, I sort of keep harking back to it, but say 25 years in the industry yourself and the organization around for 25 years as well. I think that speaks volumes in terms of what you can do, and stability, I think, is probably the right word, which is such a great and what people are looking for in this. How, first of all, who should reach out to you? Who sort of do you want to be having conversation with, and how do they find you, and how do they find out more?
We like to talk with everybody who wants to launch a payments related products in the market, from the tier 1 global bank till the FinTech who has a real idea. And we are open. We're not saying we don't want you. We're humble in that perspective, and I think every customer is a customer. That's first of all. So there, if people have some ideas or having established business, want to see how they can run it more cost effective or things like that, they can always reach out to us. That's the first thing. How they can reach out, we have a website, www.bpcbt.com, which they can reach. But also we are on globally on most bigger payments related events. We were at Pay 360. Now next week it's Money 2020 in Amsterdam, and there are others in other regions where we are heavily in the market, and they can always reach out to my LinkedIn profile. I'm quite active on LinkedIn to disseminate our information about the company and what we are doing. So people who want to find us easily find us.
And as you say, on LinkedIn a lot, because you've got plenty to talk about. There's lots of good things, and look, everything we'll make sure that all the details are published along with this as well. But Peter, thank you ever so much for your time. It's fascinating to hear about you and BPC. Thank you everyone for watching.